Okay, we're going to be talking about HISET math in this particular video. And one of the things that you definitely must know is percent. So you want to stick around and see how I solve these three particular percent problems. Um, it might be a good idea for you to pause the video and maybe check out these particular problems, see if you can do them on your own. But the purpose of this video is more like just to kind of see where you're at. But percent is a big topic. Just because you know how to do a basic percent problem doesn't mean that you know how to handle all percent problems. Okay, this is very kind of a common scenario for a lot of students. So we're going to get into it in just a second. I'm going to leave you with two things. First of all, if you know that you need a lot of help with maths, percent, and otherwise for the HISET, I'm going to check out my full HISET math course. I'll leave a link in the description of this video. It's a great course. So it's going to help you out, especially if you're just not getting these kind of quick tutorial videos that I do. And I hope you consider subscribing to my channel. I do a lot of YouTube videos on a lot of math topics, HISET, a lot of test prep stuff. So, if you like the way I teach, you're definitely going to enjoy a lot of the other videos that I already have and will be continuing to do. So with that being said, let's take a look at these three problems. Again, I would hope that you would kind of, quiz yourself if you think you know percent. So we're kind of going to start with the easiest, most basic problem here. So this is 6% of 32 is what? Okay, 6% of 32 is what? So I'm going to do this real quick. So the way we solve basic percent problems, again, I'm not going to turn this into a full lesson. I'm just going to quickly go over these problems. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. But if you're not understanding, then you're going to need further instruction. So 6% of 32, the way we generally do percent is we change the percent, okay, the number here that's here at 6%, we're going to change this into a decimal. And the way we're going to do that, if I have 6%, that's the same thing as 6.0%. And the reason why I put the 0.0 because I need to know where the decimal point's at. All you do to change a percent into a decimal is move the decimal point two places to the left. So that's going to be 0.06. Okay, so 0.06. So what we're going to do is convert the percent, this number that's in a percent form, into its decimal form. So that's 0.06, and we're going to multiply it by the number we're trying to determine what percent of that larger number is, right? So 6% of 32, we're simply going to multiply 6% as a decimal, which is 0.06 times 32. We get a little trusty calculator out. And when we do that, we get 1.92. Okay, so that is the answer. 6% of 32 is 1.92. Now, I want to teach you something here about algebra and words, how we translate various words. So here we can see we have this problem written out. 6% of 32 is 1.92. Okay, so we determined that. Okay, this was a problem. Now this is a statement. So I want you to look at this, what I just wrote out here. This is 6%, but as a decimal. 6% of 32 is 1.92. Okay, so the main thing that I want you to stress is the structure of this. This is where the percent was. This is usually like the bigger number. Okay, this word is the same thing as the equal sign, and this is what our answer was. Okay, or the smaller part. So we have like a bigger number, right? A big number or a big value, and then some small part represents some percent. Now, percent can be bigger than the actual value. You can have like 200% of something, but let's just kind of keep it simple with this kind of concept here. Okay, so if you get that, if you understand this part, then you're going to understand how I'm going to do the next two problems, because I'm going to use basic algebra to help solve percent problems. I find that using just a basic algebra equation is much simpler. Now, there's a couple different ways you can learn percent. Okay, you can learn them through ratios and proportions, or you can just use a basic algebra equation, or you can just have learned to manipulate the percent decimals by the type of problems. So if you get the answer right for these other two problems, then stick with your method. Okay, there's no need to learn another method, in my opinion. As long as you can do these problems and do them right, then stick with your method. Okay, so let's take a look at this next example. 15% of what number is 20? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to construct kind of an algebraic equation or a mathematical relationship, just like I did here, but using these using this sentence here. So 15%. Okay, so I'll do this right here. 15% of what number? Okay. So right here was this first example was 16% of 32, but here it was 16% of what number? Well, that's a variable. So 16% of some unknown number, let's say x, is equal to 20. Okay, see how that this is the same kind of setup as this top thing? 16% or the percent of a bigger number is equal to the answer. So 15% of some big number, all right, that's the number I'm looking for, is equal to 20. Now, I don't want to write this as 15%. I want the decimal version of 15%, which is 0.15. Okay, so now I have a basic algebra equation of 0.15x is equal to 20. Okay, so if you understand this, then all we have to do is solve this basic equation. What I'm going to do is just divide both sides of the equation by 0.15. So let's go to our trusty calculator. So 20 divided by 0.15 is equal to 133.3 continuing. So let's just call it 133.3. So 15% of 133 is 120. So you can actually go into your calculator, go 0.15 times 133.3, and you'll get 19.999, or basically 20. Okay. So I really want you to understand how easy solving a percent problem can be once you understand this basic setup, and obviously you need a basic understanding of algebra and how to solve algebra equations. This is a very basic algebra equation, and it's definitely going to be on the HISET, and actually far more advanced equations than this. But if you're like getting this, then it's like you don't have to memorize all these other percent rules and setups, which I think are generally require you to like memorize things, where if you just understand the basic structure of percent problems, it's much easier. Okay, so that's the second type problem. Now the third type problem is very much like the second problem, but it's a little bit, tiny little bit more difficult to interpret. I'm going to write it out. I'm going to write out the problem, then I'll go ahead. I'm going to write out the equation, and then I'll explain it. Okay. So, what percent? Now this time, let's just say here, I had the percent in this problem. I had the percent in this problem. This problem, I'm looking for the percent. So it's going to be x percent. Okay. X percent of 19. Okay, so I'm going to take some percent of 19, and the answer is 8. Do you see that? X, so what percent of 19 is 8? Now, I'm writing it this way. 8 is what percent of 19, but it's effectively, this is the same interpretation of this problem. And that's one thing on these type of problems, you kind of have to, tweak the actual order, what's going on, but this is basically what we're looking for, right? We're looking for what percent of 19 is equal to 8. Now, I could have wrote that problem that way, what percent of 19 is 8, but oftentimes you'll see something like this, 8 is what percent of 19. They kind of, trick you a little bit, but let's go ahead and write this equation. So instead of the percentage, we're just going to write x, okay? So x times 19 is equal to 8. Now, algebraically, this x in front of the 19 is the same thing as 19 times x. That's equal to 8. So it's the same basic equation. So to solve for x, I just need to divide both sides of the equation by 19. Okay? So let's go ahead and take our calculator and take 8 divided by 19, and we get x is equal to 0.421. Okay. So that's our answer almost. Almost our answer, okay? So if you notice here, when we multiply, or when we actually have the percent, remember we turned it into a decimal. So in this case, like for 15%, we turn it into the decimal 0.15. So if I wanted to go back from the decimal, well, so let's just review real quick. So from percent to decimal, okay, I moved the decimal point over 2 places to the left, right? So like 15% is the same thing as 0.15, for example. So I have 15.0%. I move the decimal point 2 places to the left. But if I want to go the opposite direction, if I want to go from a decimal to a percentage, what do you think I have to do? Well, just have to move the decimal point back, right? So if I'm going to go from 0.15 to 15%, I just simply have to move 2 places to the right. So the reason why that's important is our answer here is x is equal to 0.421. That's the decimal equivalent of what percentage? Well, just move this decimal point over 2 places to the right, and I get 42.1%. 42.1%. So 42.1% of 19 is equal to 8. Okay? A little bit more confusing. This is why a lot of people, I think, are overconfident when it comes to percent, because they can handle a basic percent problem like 16% of $800. You'll save 16% of $800. You can kind of calculate that because that's real life percent type of things that we deal with, right? Especially when you're getting a discount or something like that, you can just kind of figure that out. But there are other type of percent problems that are more challenging, and you need to know them. Okay, so again, this is kind of a quick crash course on percent, but I suggest that you really take the time to go back and learn this and other stuff. So let's go and wrap it up. So I do a ton of these type of videos, so I hope you, are enjoying my videos and getting something out of them. And if you are, I hope you consider subscribing. Please hit that bell notification so you can get my latest videos as well. So when they come out, you'll know, hey, especially if you're studying, because I do put out a lot of content. So, I try to make it very applicable to those, especially with test taking, whether it be the HISET, GED, task, other type of task, or math in general. I do put a lot of content, and I know it will be very helpful for you. So when I hit that bell notification, hey, if you enjoyed the video, I definitely would appreciate a thumbs up, and leave me some comments. It's the only way I know that I'm doing a good job for you, and that's how I improve and get ideas for future videos that will benefit you. If you really are struggling with math, do not lose hope. Okay, you can be, you can think that you're terrible at math and no math, and you need to know a considerable amount of math for sure to pass the HISET. But believe me, with a good plan and commitment, okay, and a lot of good instruction, you can go from point A being lost to point B being successful on the HISET in a far shorter period of time than you think might be possible. Okay. However, you do got to make those commitments, and you got to be ready to do the work. And if you check out some other videos that I've done on my channel, I speak a lot about motivation, commitment, your habits and stuff, because really to be successful at math, or to be successful in the quickest amount of time, there's a lot of things that you can do that you may not have thought about that can really accelerate your learning curve. So with that being said, I definitely appreciate your time. I hope you learned something about percent today, and I hope to see you soon. Have a great day.